Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Foundational Fridays. I am, of course, your conductor on this journey, Yuya Assaan-ANU, head of the ANU spiritual order as Chief Jegna and head instructor of the Sadulu House Spiritual Center, where we are specializing in self-actualizing spiritual technology and education. So, in this segment, I have a treat for you all this Friday. Well, I think it's a treat. And what I'm going to actually share with you are some of the segments and snippets from the Baltimore workshop that we did at Everyone's Place. And that workshop we did about 7 days ago down there in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was a beautiful experience. Really got an opportunity to have some good and warm discussion, very warm, because and those who were there know what I mean by that. And the room temperature was a little warm, but some warm and close, intimate discussions with individuals who attended, as well as some students who I had not been able to really get into the same room with for an extended period of time up until that point. So that was always good. It's always good to really be able to sit together and speak together and look at one another in the eye and hear ideas and hear the concerns of those who support the information and support enlightenment and transformation and the work that we're doing here. So Everyone's Place in Baltimore was, of course, a wonderful experience. And, I'm offering before we began the actual workshop, because we were a little delayed in our start, I decided to wait for those who decided to set their clocks to a different time. So what I did was I offered a time in the beginning where I did kind of a question and answer, just open forum. Normally we do that at the end of the workshop, so because we had a little bit of time, I was giving folks, we probably went into about a good maybe 40 to 45 minutes before the workshop, just doing Q&A. And then, of course, Q&A afterwards. The workshop ended up being about 5.5 hours. And I had to close it out and say, okay, guys, let's get out of here. It was originally slated for 2 hours. And of course, after the 2, I told people they can leave at any moment, whenever they feel like leaving. And I'll just stay and I'll answer questions until everyone is completely exhausted of their questions. And that kept me there for another 3 hours until, around then, and I said, okay, I think you guys have had your questions answered enough. And then actually, when I left there, I ended up going to a vegan spot in Baltimore and ran into some of the workshop attendees who had questions again. So, so I guess maybe it was even longer than 5 hours if I really count that as well, answering questions while I was enjoying my meal. So it was a good experience. I'm always appreciative when the spirits bring me into a space where the information is needed and people can get some real life applicable solutions to the things that they're going through and the things that they're trying to get through, get over, and get done with. So I figured what I would do is just share a little bit of that beginning. It's not really the workshop itself that I'm sharing in these snippets, but more so just a few other questions that I think is going to make maybe 2 or 3 questions, but they were extended answers. So I think you will enjoy it. And of course, again, remember, I'll be at Black and Nobel in Philadelphia soon. That's coming up on the 27th. And on the 27th of this month as well, September, I'll be at the Pagan Pride Festival in Washington Square Park, I think it is. Well, again, as I always say, go to the event list. You can go to Enlightenment Transformation for that event list. And also, for those of you who do not know, we also have a new mix out. the Arrive Together mix, you can go to Enlightenment and Transformation to check it out. And when you go to enlightenmentandtransformation.com, you'll see under the menu list where it says mixes or free mixtapes. So you want to go over there and check out the Arrive Together mix. It's a very, I would say, subliminal type of mix, but it tells its own story and takes the listener on a journey if you're prepared and ready to go on that journey. But again, that's under the mixes heading on Enlightenment and Transformation, and under there you'll see where it says free music mixtapes, and you'll find Arrive Together up there at the top. Okay, so I urge you to go check that out and enjoy it. It's an hour and a half of music, and of course within the musical instruction I have placed and offered various lessons as well, or just things to think about, little seeds of insight for you to ponder on. So I know that will be something that you will enjoy and get something out of. So without further ado or delay, I will now bring to you the snippets from Everyone's Place, Baltimore, Maryland. I'm speaking about any parasitical energy. Now, that may be someone in our culture. Sometimes you'll go to different priests, quote unquote, or different practitioners, and when you walk through the door of their shrine, they see you as nothing but a power source. So in essence, that is someone using your system against you. But in the same instance, you have within the greater societal community, you have different esoteric and metaphysical practices that are used by the government, judges, that's a part of the greater corporations, the police, even down to the badges that they wear, the insignias on the badges. Okay, now, of course, we may root some of those things and say, well, those come from a Grecian understanding, but of course, the Grecian understanding comes from a Kemetic understanding, and we know that the Yoruba migrated out of Kemet. So ultimately, those things are being used against us. For instance, there's an Arabic word which is actually a Bantu word, and that word is Sharif. And Sharif means Allah's enforcer. And the Sharif worked on the understanding of the six-pointed system of discipline, which eventually became the six-pointed star, which eventually became the sheriff star, the badge that he wears. Okay, and the Sharif became the sheriff. You see, but and legally, the sheriff is actually the only one in America who actually enforces the law. Police officers are agents who protect and serve administrative statutes, so they have nothing to do with the law, by law. Okay, so when there's a problem and you need law enforcement, the only ones you really should be calling are the sheriffs. They're the only ones that are obligated by their oath to actually help you. Police are not obligated to help you. So now we know, of course, sheriffs do like some of the worst stuff. They kick people out of their homes, all kinds, take your car. But because when you see that badge and you see that name sheriff, there's something that cues into you genetically and biospiritually where you say, I connect with this. This is okay for this to happen because this is God's enforcer. So that's another example of using our sciences against us. And I mean, it goes so far and wide.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, we're just doing a preliminary, so everybody can stay relaxed, at ease. So that's just another form of someone coming in and using, again, our understandings and the things that we've grown accustomed and familiar with over the ages and putting it in front of us and saying, this is good for you. Very similar to like the food pyramid. For us as indigenous people who are melanin dominant, there's nothing on that food pyramid that's pretty much healthy for us. It's all that dairy, all that red meat, but because it's in the shape of a pyramid, you immediately say, this is okay, because that symbol, that image, that geometry is something that's good for me. So that's a small example of that, in terms of that. But now, because it's on different levels. Now, directly and straight out, do you have politicians and people of influence going into Ifa shrines? Yes. Okay. So, in a more direct sense, yeah, you have people who are coming and using, because it's not something to like, It's something to say, yeah, that makes sense. Why would you not use something that works? Unless you are of the culture of Black America.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. We love praying, and we love our dancing and our hoping, and we love going on lifelong pursuits to prove that all of the greatest information in the world derives from our negotiations with nature. While there are other entities, parasitical entities, that will say, I don't care who invented it, just do it. Does it work? Do it. And because of that, they're able to create a certain stronghold footing in the world that we are still having a little struggle with. So, in a simplistic sense, I'm gonna give you what I gave him at the end of the conversation, and then I'll work my way backwards, because I gave him the easy one in the end. As I was sitting there communicating with these three individuals, I was struggling to communicate with two of them. And one of them, the communication was like, it was real easy, like how I'm talking to you all right now. And what was happening is, like, as I was communicating with the two of them, I found myself constantly saying, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? And it was, I think so. I mean, is it like, because what it is that people who are soulless are only created by our thought projection and energy that we give to them. So when they come in our presence, in order for them to exist in that presence, which is very difficult if you're vibrating at a certain frequency, two things have to happen. One, you have to lower your frequency in order to accommodate them in that space. And two, you have to give them a part of your vital energy body, which we call in Yoruba, we call the Ojiji. Or some people call the aura. You have to send some of your aura to them to make them real. All this is happening in the middle of a conversation, because they're not actual creations of the soul. They're not actual celestial creations. So what is happening, if they're only existing through your thought presence and living purely off of the ashe that they're able to borrow from different sources, then whenever they come around an individual, cheer time. Whenever they come around an individual, what they're going to have to do is try to borrow some of that energy just to only exist for the moment. No different than a vampire. Okay? Whereas when you're speaking to someone with a soul, you're feeding each other. I don't have to lower to level 5 so you can come up to level 5. I don't have to come down from my 10. I can keep my energy, and in effect, it's kind of like sending energy to a plant or to a tree. They give it back. You begin an exchange. Even if you hug a tree, if you're feeling depressed and you hug a tree, you'll release your energy into the tree, but then what will happen is you'll start giving the tree energy while it's giving you energy. You're keeping each other alive. So there's an exchange. So when you're speaking to someone who does not possess what we call a ka, or a soul, you'll immediately feel that you're almost struggling to make them authentic. In Kemetic culture, the word for authentic was ma'at. So one of the reasons that was the word, because ma'at literally means authentic, but one of the reasons that is because that balance that occurs, that individual is not authentic. They're not really real. They're only real because you've decided to acknowledge them as real. You've given them that favor. No different than if a spirit came in here, or a high-level spirit, and called your name and said, Johan. You would really feel like, wow, my life does have a purpose. I'm here for a reason. Because there is something orchestrated outside of me that is acknowledging me. So it gives you a certain thrust. Well, the same thing happens when those of us who have ME, or the breath of life, speak near and individuals who are vibrating at that low
earth frequency. Okay, when they're only vibrating at the earth frequency and we speak to them, we raise them up. So you'll feel immediately like I'm struggling to connect, in a sense. Okay? So as I was talking to the three individuals, what it felt like, and I knew it even before they came over, but I'm just giving you like an example of like how it feels. It feels like nothing's there. You know, you like just people standing there, but it just kind of feels like nothing's really there. Whereas like as I'm looking in the room now, I obviously see people, but then I feel other people with the people. You know, so the room is much more packed to me, because I mean I could stand up here and talk. Why am I not up here? It's not just because the camera don't keep up, you're not even recording yet. Because I give people their personal space. I feel the energies here. Because these energies have to speak to me. Look, tell him this, tell her that. You see? Now, people who don't feel that, you'll find that when they speak to you, they get all up in your personal space. A lot of times they want to tell, those are nice beads. You ain't supposed to touch that. You know, where do you get those? Because they have no understanding of that auric body. The only understanding they have of that auric body is I want it. I need that energy. You know, so they'll touch your hair. What is this? Yeah, I know. Okay, I cut mine recently, but I always kept mine covered, like, you know, because I wasn't always so friendly about it. Give you a quick chop. You know, because when you're servicing other people, you can't let people mess you around like that. Because now I go to do a reading, and my energy is body off, because I let people play in my head. You know, similar to what Bob Marley was doing right before he got killed. But yeah, so that's one of the ways you know. You know, you'll try to communicate and you'll feel like a emptiness there. You know, and people who are coming with that energy, you can connect. You feel like a string. There's an attraction. You know, it's an attraction.
To tag on to that, is it possible for individuals to mimic or pretend because they either listen to your show or they absorb some information, but to pretend to have that,
to have a soul,
to have something to give, through language, through practicing how to speak a certain way, to wearing the right look, and so on and so forth.
Everything they're doing is a pretense.
Okay.
Everything, even down to walking on 2 feet, to not eating raw meat, to telling you, no, I don't copulate with little boys. Their whole moral structure and value is a pretense. It's all they're completely pretending that they are civilized cosmic beings and that they're not humans, that they're not mankind. So it goes even beyond the initiatives to, you know, go to the continent and get initiated and things like that and come back and show you or grow locks or whatever it is that we associate with someone who has higher elevation and awareness and conscious awareness. It goes so far beyond that. It's just their movement through the planet, pretending that I exist. I think, therefore I am. No, not really. You know, so yeah, that's certainly a part of it, you know, that mimicking, but we have to look at the mimicking at very base levels. You know, anything that's purporting to be Mem, Alf, Nun, woman, man, child, which you also call man, if you have to pretend to be as such, then certainly you are not. If you can be classified as mankind, then certainly you are not man. You know, it's like saying I'm Asiatic. I'm not Asian, I'm Ik. I'm Jewish. I'm not really a Jew, I'm Ish. Jewish, more-ish. I'm not really practicing the precepts of the Moors, which come from Kemet, which align themselves with Yoruba thought. I'm more-ish. So, it's that, but then it even starts before that. And that's really how you get caught. Because you walk to them and they speak. And you say, oh, because you speak and you stand on 2 feet, you must be like me. And the problem with that is because you never got to witness their gestation period. You know, so when you first encountered them, you just assumed it was you and maybe continental drifts, and you came up with all these different theories. as to why their vibration was so earthbound and why they needed you so much. Why you had to. Here we see. It outlines that process pretty well. But again, if you're not able to witness someone's gestation process, the same thing like you said, can I come along and pretend, can I jump on the internet one day and just say I'm a Babalawo? Yeah. People do it. You know, if I'm not able to really prove from a communal sense of where and when my rites of passage began, you know, like I got initiated this date. And, you know, typically if anyone who's ever been to the continent for initiation, they'll know. I know we have some practitioners in here. The community sees you. It's not like here where we're in basements, you know, and it's a hidden type of thing. And, you know, at night and, you know, there you know, you might be walking through a village to go from the river to where you were. So everybody, oh, okay, it's an initiate, you know. So you can't come back from the river acting a fool. You know, because it's like, no, I know who your father is, you know, or who your mother is. You can't do that. You know, that has a lot to do with it. You have any more? Yeah, sure.
Back to like when we was talking about the souls. So like, how does that speak to like what we understand of the cycle? Like for instance, our spiritual cycle. Like for instance, I know that we come from our you know, our soul creates our spirit for us to be animated here on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. So now, how does that speak to that? Like for instance, they don't have a soul.
Right.
So what created them? Or what created the energy that animates them?
These conversations. Oh. I'm not saying to shut it down. I'm just saying. No, but it's the attention we give to them. So when you give attention to something, wherever the mind goes, reality will follow. But the thing is that reality is now a product of thinking. Anything that's a product of thinking is transient. It passes. In our Yoruba culture, we have the Ori Ode. We have the Ori, which is your consciousness, but the Ode means the outer head. But what that specifies is speaking about the brain, the flesh brain. So you can create experiences from your flesh brain. For instance, when you have a thought, it creates a cell. There you go. Now you got an entity that was created from thought. But that cell is a microcosm of what can be rippled outward and even larger. So the more you give attention to that cell, to that thought, the stronger and bigger it becomes. Now, we do it even in the sense when we're not having amorous or affectionate thoughts about those entities, because all they have to do is do something so horrific that all of our attention goes to them. You will keep us alive. If you stop thinking about us, we cease to exist. We fade. Okay? Because if you do not have a soul, that means you're not connected to source. I got to use some corny new age terms now, but it's just to clarify. Connecting yourself to source, or Olodumare, right? The Ori is what connects you through. Okay, that is the breath of life, Emi. Again, remember at one point everything was comprised of Emi. Everything was Emi. Air, divine breath. And Emi formed itself through Ashe into matter-dense objects. Okay? So, if I have Emi, and Olodumare has given me that Emi, and Olodumare is a defined expression from the actual source, not the source, but the first attempt of definition from the source. Can't get much higher than that because we couldn't understand the source anyway. So you might as well just stick with Olodumare, who we also can't understand. So it's that deep, you know. So if I have that and I possess that divine breath, that means I also have the potential and the ability to regenerate myself. Coming from the means to go back or source. So I can generate myself from source. That's regeneration, or even recreation. I can recreate myself or create myself again from source, right? If I do not have that, where will I get the energy to create myself again? I have to find source elements somewhere. The plants, the animals, the people. Wherever I can get something that represents source. Source is carbon, soot, from the Great Mother. You see, you know, we're always given energy to keep entities alive that nature is phasing out. That's out. Okay. Now we haven't officially. We were starting late because a lot of people were coming in late, so I just was taking some questions, just freestyling a little bit before people got in. So before we begin, does anyone have any questions? Everybody's cool. Okay. All right. And we'll. Is that fan on?
No.
This one is close.
Yeah, he was looking for a plug and then he disappeared.
All right. Well, you know, you're taking it back. I'm good. Take it back home.
Like water or something?
No, I'm good, Bob. Good thanks. Well, back in the days, I mean, if you wanted information, it usually was very uncomfortable. You know, you would be inched up in somewhere, or if someone gave you, like, go back in VHS tape. You know, like, yo, this tape I got, don't let it pop. Even it's grainy, you can barely hear it. But I'm telling you, they're dropping some stuff. Dr. Ben is dropping it on this one. You know, so we just take it back to the days of really earning our information. You know, it's going to be a little hot. Okay, so let's get to it in terms of, now let's just, these are part of the African community. Now, significantly what you'll find is that the ancestor holds an equal space as a walking person, one who is still walking what we call Onile, or the earth, or Aye, the earth's crust. Okay, those are different than those who may be in Orun, which we call heaven. But they hold the same energetic vibration. Okay, so much so that I have a good friend, Kwesi, in Ghana, but he deals with Yoruba. And I remember the first time I went to his home, because I like woodworking. I like woodworking and metalworking. It's something that I'm fascinated by people who can carve and things like that. So he had this beautiful carving, like in the middle of the living room, you know. So I was like, yo, that's a nice chest. Like, man, maybe I might want to buy one and send it back to the States. I don't know where I would put it, but it's just beautiful. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's grandfather. The bodies are buried inside the house. Okay? In the living room. So you thinking it's a sofa, and that's somebody's uncle. But they make it very clear that just because someone is no longer walking the earth's crust does not mean that they're not part of our community. Okay? So that the ancestors play a significant position, but the position that they play is only an empathetic one. Everybody understand what I mean by that? And just so you know, as I'm speaking, because some of you are not writing notes, it's okay. We're going to do this like a class because it's small. So that means you can raise your hand at any time. Don't try to memorize everything I'm saying, because I tend to ramp up. Okay, I try to, you guys know. I try to start, so when I start, I try to keep it low, but eventually I'm going to be flying. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about empathetic?
Empathetic, sure. Okay, let's take an Orisha. Orisha Oya. Anybody here familiar with Oya? You probably are, right?
I don't know, am I?
Good question. Certainly you are. Oya, how does she look?
Something like her.
Exactly. She does. If you look at all the drawings of Oya.
She had the colors on it.
Yeah, that's her. Well, the head wrap. Yeah, she looks like the pictures of Oya, as is this sister. So those pictures were drawn because our ancestors knew that through our fall and dissension through our human bodies and our human understanding and thought that we would become complete idiots. So they had to represent our spiritual sciences to us in the way that you represent them to a child. So they created these anthropomorphic entities that we could identify with. Well, Ogun looks like this, a bald-headed man with a cigar no. Ogun has never walked the forest. Oya has never walked the forest, because we're speaking about spiritual entities. These are spiritual entities that live on the astral planes that are thought projections from your own mind. We're going to get into that. Okay, so therefore they do not have flesh bodies to have ever experienced what you've experienced in your somatic reality. The somatic reality is the reality that deals with the five senses. So when you lay down on the bed and you said, oh yeah, I make this bed cool, she doesn't know what it feels to lay down on the bed. She doesn't know what it feels to get her heart broken. Though you have stories about her getting her heart broken, and Shango did her dirty, and they said that. Well, she did Ogun dirty first. That's called karma. So, yeah, learn the knowledge. So these entities that we call Orisha, they're different streams of cognition. So as they're different streams of cognition, they don't have a human story like you have a human story. However, your ancestors do. So when you say, Grandma, the rent's due, and I'm nervous, I can't eat my food properly, I wake up thinking about I'm one day closer to the first, and all that other stuff that we go through as humans, Grandma says, yeah, I know what that feels like, let me get on it. Let me send a charge to the Orisha on your behalf to get them in gear, because they could care less if you were living under a bridge or in a mansion. They don't know the difference. All they know is, now that you're under the bridge, you don't feed me like you fed me before. You don't talk to me like you did before. You don't contact me at the higher levels like you did before. And there's another thing to that we speak about. So when we speak about the empathetic link, it is the ancestors that actually feel for you. Nothing else in the environment, in the cosmos, feels for you. Nothing. No matter how much you think you got guardian angels, and when it rains, they're crying, and all that bull crap. No. You only think that because you were religiousized.
Right.
So you were taught that something somewhere cares about you as a replacement and substitute for you really delving into and cultivating a love for the maternal energy. That's what happened. Okay, so when they killed the mother and made her a Holy Ghost, they had to now figure out a way to tell you that this God, Father God, was now all of a sudden a maternal and nurturing entity that will be there whenever you want him to be there. That's bullcrap. As men, we don't even function like that. The masculine principle is a detached principle. It is God the Father. I'm here, but I ain't really here. You see? Like, I can tell you the women in my life, I don't know what they be talking about. I don't listen. I don't. I'm there. But I ain't really there. You know what I'm saying? That's why you're laughing, because you know what I'm talking about. We ain't really there. That's that science of God the Father that we're
I got one of those. It's fun.
now you know what? It's very old. There you go. You praise that.
I mean, you already ran through like 20 things. I'm like, it's Changa. It's Changa. It's Changa. That's Changa.
Right. I'm here, but I ain't here. I'm God the Father. Okay. But I need to be that way, because if I'm not that way, I won't be as defensively aware. If I'm listening to all that crap you talking about, I really can't protect the homestead. I gotta look at your shoe, how these shoes fit on my toes hanging off the side. Can you see my underwear under this slip? You know, I have women, I know the conversation. I just get little glimpses of it. You know, I can remember some of it. No, I ain't thinking about that. I'm looking, I hear a car just pulled up out front. That sound like a caprice. Okay. You know what that means? That's why I just heard a caprice pull up. Hold on. You know the difference between the cars. Listen, I know. Turn them lights off. You know. So, hey, man, we still here on Earth. You know. So, yes,
this is kind of off track, but I think it's related.
It's okay.
I had a conversation with the sister who is my godmother about how.
You know, so that's another place that you want to start. So
I am so grateful for, especially this piece you just gave, because I don't even want to say I'm struggling. I think my mind is made up about this whole balance and peace between the teacher and the student, and feeling like some energy around being ripped off. But not so much that is not being free to think.
Sure.
You know, or having that energy of thinking be squelched and resisting that. And trying to make some trouble for me about that, but I'm not having it. And so that balance between, okay, is this really my teacher? Is this really my way? Sure, because I can think and I can read and I can make certain assumptions. What do I need from the Spirit to help me on my way? When I say that, I'm talking about specific rituals, specific healing practices, those kind of things, so that I can elevate that which I aspire to.
Okay. Here's the thing though, you're a poor student of that teacher, so get out from underneath that teacher. Okay? You are torturing that teacher.
You're right.
Okay? Just get from underneath it. That teacher is for somebody who needs that level. You don't need that, so now you are squeezing your adult self into a child's seat. And then you complaining that the seat keeps tipping over every time you lean forward and get something on the floor. Why you don't put no bigger seats in there? Because this is not the design of what I'm presenting right now. You asking for something more than I'm able to give you. If you are already coming in desiring modalities of healing and so forth and so on, most likely you already know them. So the only thing that's going to happen in that scenario with that teacher, no strike against teacher, I don't know that individual, I'm not trying to make them lose students or whatever. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to have to break yourself to become a student. You know you ain't going to do that.
We already discussed that.
Exactly. That's the only answer at this point. You're going to have, because everything in you is saying, I've outgrown this situation, and maybe the original question that I have to ask this person has already been answered. I'm not supposed to be studying under this person right now. So if that's the case, in order for me to convince myself of that, I'm going to have to break myself and break what I feel. And there's a time to break yourself and to be humble, but then there's a time to be the oddball and go with your own explosion of energy, because you can suppress it otherwise. You see, my students do all kind of weird stuff. They think I don't be known, but I know. They join other stuff while they're with me. I could care less. I don't care about no adults doing. Who cares? I'm just saying that. Okay, so let me explain this to you. I'm only here teaching you, one, to fulfill my purpose, and two, so that you'll teach children. I don't give a crap about what y'all do. Now, somebody does. Alright, I don't. I'm not impressed by the magical feats of adults. You're supposed to be able to do something. You're a freaking adult. You've been here for 20, 30, 40 years. I would expect some type of magical abilities at this point. It's the babies. If you're not teaching this to the children or giving it to the elders so that they don't get stuck in a damn church pew for the next millennia, then I don't give a F about you. You see? So I'm only teaching for that purpose, for us to teach those who are affecting policy on both ends of the spectrum, which is really the ancestors. So you coming into that environment, you're not getting what you're supposed to get, and you're not giving what you're supposed to give. It would be more advisable for you to pull back and you decide how you negotiate your understanding and contracts with the universe first, and then determine what that needs to look like in the form of a teacher, if it needs to be a spiritual guide, or if you need to just step to a teacher and say, listen, I don't want to be under you, but how much would it cost me to get some of what you got? From the entire time we've been here, you've been talking about this teacher. Right, everybody, come on. Go back. So she can take it. You said, yes, tell her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you brought this individual into our space. That means it's not sitting well with you.
It's not. It is not.
So it's okay. I mean, let it go. As teachers, people come and go. You know, I've had so many students pass through, and sometimes they sneak in and like, I don't care. I really don't. And I mean, I don't mean that to try to sound mean, but I'm fulfilling my life purpose. And my life purpose is not intertwined with yours. You know, some people will come just to get a care package. Some people will go to get a question answered. You know, and if it doesn't work with me, chances are I'll say, why don't you just do your thing for a little while. You know, it doesn't mean you get out of here. We're still cool, but there's something that you have that I might suppress just by maybe my opinion, not even what I teach you. You may see something I do and be like, wow, that's cool, I like the way he does that, I want to do it like him, and that may mess you up, and I don't want to do that. So when you're using incantations incantation, what you're going to be doing is speaking to the various jinn, demons, spirits that reside in the plant. That's what.
So you may want to give some more information about what happens when you shine it.
Because that's the demon. That's where your demons live.
Oh.
Okay. But they're waiting for you to control them. It's okay.
Okay.
But if you shine it and you worship them, then yeah, they take over.
So we don't want to worship.
Worship, and okay, let me explain. I'm using the word worship because most people kind of know what worship means. But worship only means to ascribe attributes to. So if I sat and looked at you and described you, that would be worship. For instance, Allah the magnificent, Allah the benevolent, Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Nisi. These are forms of worship because I'm describing the characteristics the characteristics of a particular entity. Okay, that is by definition worship. Okay. So in essence, you would worship something to call it. Okay, so for instance, if I'm walking down the street and one of you saw me tomorrow and you said, hey, I'm not going to turn around. I never answer to that. I don't know what that's about. So I'm moving. If you say, hey brother, nah, not enough. Because I don't call you by my brother. If you say, if I'm wearing a white shirt, you say, hey, you in a white shirt. You got my attention, but I'm still not turning around. You in a white shirt with a big, giant, shiny, bald head. Definitely got my attention, but I need something else because I need to know what aspect of me you want. You the one with the white shirt, big shiny bald head that was teaching the class yesterday. Okay, what's up? It's got my name, huh? But it's okay, you don't need my name if you know my attributes. Okay. But you can invoke different aspects of it. You might say something else, and now my fists are balled up. Maybe I'm scared. You who just stole my parking spot. Uh-oh. So that's what the basis of worship is. And incantation is somewhat similar in that you are declaring attributes, but incantation is more so to take you through. Once you face your demons, you don't really have to do anything because they dissipate. The facing of a demon, remember your face is Atun. Your face is the soul of this. So when I look at you, I have to shed sunlight at you. Now, demons and spirits can't live, they only live in shadows. That's all spirits. That's even your ancestors. Ancestral realm is not this pretty bright place with Photoshop filter glow, Asian glow put over it. It's dark. It's like the movie Insidious, if you've ever seen it. That's why you light candles, so they can see their way to you. So when you shine light on them, they actually fade, unless you give them a space within your shadow, called a ka'et, or the Ojiji. Okay? So a demon, you can say, hey, get back in my shadow. I'll give you the spot to live, or I'm just going to leave you there. It's like that exposure of truth. When you expose the truth, a lie to the light, what happens? It exposes itself, the truth that's in the lie. You lied about this, but now we know the truth because we've exposed it. So when your demons come up for you to deal with them, just by you exposing them and giving them your full attention, they're no longer demons anymore. Now they're you.
So you've transmuted it.
You've transmutated it, but in that moment you have a choice. I'm going to be this, or I'm going to let you die out by not giving you any more energy. So you may bring up something, you may say, well, you know what, I don't know, because I'm so good. I haven't done anything.
Except for that candy
Big cup.
Oh yeah, the piece of big cup. So you might say, yo man, we got you on camera. You still piece of the big cup. And in that moment I may say, yeah man, sometimes when the line is too long and wide and I'm going to a lecture, I'm not waiting. So I'm going to get you. So what? Now, in that instance, I left it in the light and I've taken it on as part of my character. Okay? Or I might say, yeah, I did that, and I don't think I want to be that person to do that anymore. So I'm not going to empower that. No, that's not me. I'm this person. And it dissipates because I'm not feeding it until I'm eliminated. And I'll be happy. Anyone else? Everyone clear? Yes, sure.
That's about the soul and the spirit, right?
Okay, so there you have it. I trust that you enjoyed being in that space with us for the amount of time that you were. Of course, the energy of a moment and of an experience cannot totally be captured through your earphones or your car stereo or your computer or wherever you are listening to this broadcast from. There's nothing like being in the space with everyone and feeling the energy. And that was one of the things that someone had mentioned during the segment. They said that they could actually feel the spirit in the room. It was very thick. And of course, when I'm doing workshops and lectures, it's not just an academic and scholarly execution, but I have to make sure that the spirit is correct, and more importantly, the spirit of those who are present, the benevolent spirits who are making sure that people receive the information that they should, that they are appeased, they are strong, and they're comfortable in the space, they are welcomed. So there's a lot of effort that goes into delivering information aside from the oratory piece, but there's also a whole temple and shrine undergirding that kind of provides a framework for what it is that we all do together in those spaces, because it's really not just about me. I'm a conduit, and everyone who's present adds on to the genius of the moment. So you're very clear on that. Okay, I have a great memory. Probably one would almost say an extraordinary memory. But for the amount of information that comes through, I am nowhere near that skilled at recall, nor am I that insightful. So you be very clear that when we're doing these workshops and we're doing these lectures, that it's a mystical experience. Being a part of it, you now are a part of a mystical experience. It's a natural mystic. And like some people felt, it was flowing through the air. And some had commented I could even touch it, like I could reach out and touch it right now in this room. It was very much present. So yeah, I can only trust that. And I know a lot of my listeners are very psychic and intuitive and spiritual. That's why I love when I get to meet you all and speak with you, when you get consultations and we get to really build, because I have some really high-powered people, spiritually high-powered, who tune in, and that's awesome. Because a lot of the people who tune in who are high-powered, they're kind of like black ops. They're on the low, and they may not be out there as ministers and priests or priestesses, but they have it. They have that gift, and they dream dreams and they see visions. So it's always good to make connects, however it is that we can make a connect. But that has been our segment for this Foundational Friday, and I want to give a special thanks and respect to everyone's place in Baltimore, Maryland, for providing the space and venue and opportunity for us to get together and build. And also they do carry our new publishing titles as well. So big shout out to them, and to all the stores that we've been working with, like Pan-African Connection in Dallas, who carry our titles and enjoy our titles. Of course, big shout out to King and Queen's Emporium in New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, Sister Andaya and Sister Sula, those sisters there have also been carriers of the ANU work. And there are many stores, titles. I always encourage people too, if you're in the New York area, definitely check out African Paradise. Tell them Haru sent you. They carry our titles, but it's also a store that we have a special connect with. You want to go speak to Mama Remy. Okay, can't miss her. Beautiful Nigerian queen mother. All right. But in any event, I'm thankful. I'm grateful. This will be a glorious time for us all. This is an electric time for us all, where we will magnetize ourselves to our highest ideas and greatest momentum. So until next time, I am signing off. One love, one aim, one destiny.